tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You can hear with some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to the
Good evening,
show.
Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Well, what do you know? Good evening. Good evening. Happy Friday, everyone. How are you? To the Sabrina Speaks family, near and far. Hello, hello. It is good to be back with you as we wind up another week. Yes. Welcome one and all to this final episode for the month of February here, 2026, of Sabrina Speaks. Voices of the Islands, conversations for the world, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. I'm your host, Sabrina, and it's good to be, as I said, back. It's another open mic Friday here, right here on Sabrina Speaks, and it's a space for everyone to share their questions, laugh, vent, cry, and definitely connect, because your voice matters here. And so I'm asking you all to come through with whatever's on your mind this evening. It is your time. I turn the mics over to you. The phone lines will be open, and 345-936-8255. There's anything that we recapped, that we mentioned this week, and you want to recap it today, or you want to bring it up, or you want to expound on it a little bit more. If there's something that caught your attention, by all means, it's Open Mic Friday. And you are in control, yes. But the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, guests, and or participants, is intended solely for general informational and entertainment purposes. It's not a substitute for professional, legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for your specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. 345-936-8255 is the number to call and be a part of the conversation. Of course, thank you for all of our new subscribers and followers. You are seen, you are appreciated, and continue to share it with your friends and loved ones as well. So you don't miss an episode. Yeah, you got to like it. It does make sense. Trust me. Well, it's in the weekend. I know a lot of you have plans. I've been hearing you. I've been hearing some of you. Some of you got plans. Well, this is what the weather is going to be like, because it's going to be, the synopsis call for light winds and slight seas are expected to continue across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours as a low ridge continues to dominate the weather across all three islands. Now, lingering moisture from a low trough over the central Caribbean is expected to drift across the Western Caribbean, and that will be allowing for occasional showers across our area for the next couple of days. Satellite imagery is showing partly cloudy skies for tonight, and with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall near the low to mid 70s, and winds will be east to southeast 10 to 15 knots. Seas will be slight with moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. There will be a high tide this evening at 7:09, and a low tide tomorrow at 1:36. The sun is going to set this evening at 6:29 and sunrise tomorrow at 6:46. Now, the outlook calls for similar weather conditions through Sunday afternoon, and thereafter the chance of showers decreases, with generally light winds and slight seas forecasted through Sunday. Yes, so there you have it. For all of you who are making those plans, all the boaters, all of you who like to go out there, Sandbar, Rum Point, wherever you go, I don't know. I'll cook the fish. I'll help you eat it. You go catch it. But that's your weather update and forecast for tonight, and giving you a glimpse into the weekend right here in a place that I love to call home, the beautiful Cayman Islands. And that's all three of them, Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. It's good to be back here with you today. Now, let's just take a look at some of the top stories that are making headlines here in Cayman and definitely near our shores. Cayman, the islands has recorded their best January. The Cayman Islands has recorded their best January on record, welcoming just over 47,000 stayover visitors. And this is a 13.6 increase from last year. Now, officials credit expanded airlift and strong demand from North America, setting the stage for what could be one of the most successful years for the hospitality sector. Turning our attention to education, Minister Ralston Anglin has announced expanded government funding for the International Baccalaureate Diploma program at the Cayman International School. Now, this initiative aims to widen access for Caymanian students and strengthen pathways for high academic achievement, supporting the country's long-term goal of building a global competitive workforce. And in other local news, the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service is mourning the loss. They're mourning the loss of Detective Inspector Colin Ormule, a respected officer who served for 30 years. Detective Ormule spent most of his distinguished career in the Criminal Investigations Department, specializing in serious and violent crimes, including high-profile murder cases and complex investigations, now such as bigamy and blackmail. He passed away on the 19th of February and will be laid to rest in Nigeria. A memorial service will be held right here in Cayman in the coming weeks. So our thoughts and prayers, sincere condolences as well from my immediate family. I knew Colin personally, and but yes, sad time. I know that we're also mourning some other deaths as well, but I'll leave and out of respect for the family, and Cayman is very small. We are aware of those that just happened as well today. As we continue in a significant constitution move, the government has activated Section 77, subsection 2, to clarify 2 urgent bills for Parliament's March sitting. Now, the measure is aimed to resolve long-standing issues affecting Caymanians, including Caymanian designation, permanent residency matters, and decisions on overseas medical care coverage. In a step described as a new benchmark in transparency, the government shared the full reasons for the certification with all 19 members of Parliament. Premier Andre Ebank says the administration will act decisively when the public interest requires it. Turning our attention over to Caribbean news, shifting now to the region, Jamaica is preparing for a major cultural and culinary showcase as the 2026 Jamaica Food and Drink Festival approaches. Now, chefs are being challenged to reimagine classic Caribbean flavors with signature events, highlighting the bold reinterpretations of traditional dishes. Now, organizers say that the festival celebrates Caribbean identity, creativity, and community, with both local and international chefs contributing to a vibrant cultural experience. Taking it now to international news, the UK politics is in the spotlight after a surprising by-election result. Now, Labour leader Sir Carrie Starmer, has called the outcome very disappointing after his party finished third behind the Green Party and Reform UK. The result has sparked renewed debate about shifting political dynamics and the growing influence of smaller parties in local contests. And over to the United States, staffers from Google and OpenAI are urging their companies to uphold strict ethical boundaries around the military use of artificial intelligence. In an open letter, employees called on leaders to reject Pentagon's request for permission to use advanced AI models in ways they could enable domestic mass surveillance or autonomous lethal decision-making without human oversight. Now, the letter reflects growing concern within the tech sector about the rapid expansion of artificial intelligence capabilities and the pressure to reintegrate them into national security operations. Now, that concludes your news headlines here on Sabrina Speaks that made it to our top picks for this Friday evening. And yes, I want you to stay with us. Welcome to one and all who are joining us on this Friday. Yes, it is good to have you here. Damien, you were the first one to comment. Happy Friday to you, my dear. Yes. Good evening to you as well. Is in the house. Yes. Connie Bonnie's here as well. Yes, I re-corrected myself. Plain and straight, good evening. How are you? It's good to have you here. And Aliana, good evening to you as well. Happy Friday. Yes, I do have some announcements just to remind you that's happening this evening in Cayman. This weekend in the Cayman Islands. I want to bring to the public's attention that there's going to be this church service, Living the Giving Life, featuring Reverend Mary Graham, and that's going to happen on Sunday, March 1st, 9:30, yes, at the Intergenerational Hub, and that's at McClendon Drive. And you all are invited. That's behind Foster's Airport, and that's next to the DHL building. So this is definitely one that you want to come out in recognition of honoring Women's Month. You're welcome to attend this church service. So that's Sunday, March at 9:30, and that's at the Intergenerational Hub right there next to Foster's and the DHL. You can't miss it. Parking isn't bad either on Sunday, so you should be fine there as well. And also making other community headlines here, the Progressives Movement will be doing their listening tour kickoff, and that starts on Tuesday, March 3rd, and that's going to be from 6 until 8 at the Constitutional Hall, and all are invited, and they're all looking forward to see you there. So yeah, that's what has made our community headlines and notices just to come out here. Yeah. So we want to welcome each of you here. Lavita, yes, thank you. Thank you for letting us know you're here. Hello, Marlon, how are you? Good to have you as well. Happy Friday to everyone as we continue to build this space. Definitely. Well, the headlines is definitely making it. It's open mic, 345-936-8255. But you know, I also want to share with you all, and for those of you who follow Parliament, before we get into this open mic conversation, I'll share with you this other one as well for persons who follow what's happening in Parliament, because the fourth meeting of the 2025-2026 session will begin this Wednesday, March 4th, and that is at 2 p.m. at the House of Parliament. And members of Parliament will be debating and voting on a wide range of proposed legal changes. You heard me covered it in the news headlines, and I'll be going into that section. I'll share my screen with you as well this evening to break it down, that particular section of the Constitution in layman's terms and how it ties in and aligns with what the Honorable Premier has said. I know this is something that has just come out. A lot of you are messaging saying, how can they do this? Why are they rushing? Look, you have a right to ask your leaders the big rush, but the Premier has given an explanation and justification for why they can enact these certain sections of our Constitution. And of course, you would tune in then on Wednesday, the 4th, at 2 p.m. to Parliament, where you will hear, I'm quite sure, a statement to be made that will be in the Hansards to justify this. So what this is that members of Parliament will be debating and voting on a wide range of proposal and legal changes. And that particular section, I'll tell you exactly what that means. And what they'll be debating on in this sitting is expected from immigration to health insurance updates for what we've heard, and to the environmental measures as well, financial services regulations, virtual assets, and public service management. And as always, you can watch this on GIS. The links will be there. CIG-TV, or of course, our government's radio station as well, will actually be carrying it as well. And that, to be honest with you, brings us straight to today's open mic segment, open mic conversations. The lines are open. You can call in, you can weigh in on this. But until such time, I will actually take it because of the amount of questions and commentary we're getting on this historic, if you want to say, move, or some actually call it like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? This is bang, bang. Hey, the Constitution says it. But because this is one of the biggest moves the government has made ahead of this meeting that is scheduled for Wednesday, and the activation of Section 77, subsection 2 of the Constitution, that actually what that means is that it fast tracks two major bills. And I will actually take you and break that down in layman's terms, showing you exactly what the Constitution says. As a matter of fact, I'll break down line by line what the entire Section 77 says and tie it into why it is actually, or this administration feels that this move in enacting this particular section of the Constitution warrants it. And we'll break it down, what it means, why it matters, and why so many people are feeling left out of the process as well. I'm seeing that, I'm hearing that. And it's as though, one of the, and I quote, "We feel like we are nobodies." And when you get these type of calls and you get the comments, you have to just allow people to vent, and you just create that space. But if you feel, that this, because it is saying that this is one of the biggest moves that this particular administration has done, right? But has anybody else or any other administration made a move such as this? Look, we're not questioning it. I'm asking, let's go back. So it may not be something that happens every day, but if it has happened before and there's somebody there who has a little bit more history, when the last time something like this has been done and for what reason it was done, by all means, give us a call, 345-936-8255, to share with us what that means. But like I said, it is open mic Friday, and I'm going to try to break down this Section 77, the urgent bills, and why Caymanians feel left out. But then you also have a certain sector of society that's, yay, it's about time. Don't pay these people any mind. Just do what you got to do. It's time we take our country back over. And, and then you got the other section like, what the heck? So would you say it is fair right now that there's a feeling within the society that we are a split society, and that it almost wants to feel like we are almost becoming the society up north that is only like an hour or 5 away? And I don't know, I'm throwing it out there, but based on the commentary, what you say, everybody from what the press release is saying, that even members of the opposition is aware of this. We will know whether or not they support it or not, but it seems as though the sitting administration has their blessings to enact this particular Section 77 and warrants that the reason for making this declaration, for the reason which is outlined, is justified. Now, everyone will have their say on Wednesday, or as time permits, to debate these bills. And I am quite sure that who will not be on social media either the weekend or leading up to Wednesday, that they will all give their say if they so choose. Because right now, between now and Wednesday, and with this nuclear, as some of you have described it, this nuclear move of the enacting of Section 77, there is no public consultation. No, there is no public consultation on no more than what has been discussed in the short period of time of some of the bills that you had in circulation. Now, if they've made the decision to waive those rights because it's of national importance, the Constitution actually says that, and we're going to break that down here this evening. Hey, Lovita Ray from French Harbor. Oh, nice to have you with us. Yes, yes, yes. So good to have you with us. Yes. Marlon, yes, you are more than welcome. Jimbo is here. Connie, he remembered you too, you know. Plastic Fantastic. Hi, how are you? Welcome. Sharon, good evening to you as well, and happy Friday to all. Let's get into it. So Wednesday is this, and make sure you all who want to get some blessings in your soul, God knows we need it. If you want some place to go and worship and you don't have a place, you can go to the Intergenerational Hub on Sunday because we can need it. So let me share my screen with you here this evening and go straight to the section 77. Let's get into it. And I want to do this with you all here this evening. Okay, so that's my screen. And it is subtitled The Introductions of Bills, right? And let's get into exactly what this is saying. The entire section 77 is broken down in 3 subsections with clause A, B, and C. And there's a reason why I'm going to go into the entire bill of the Constitution, even though he enacted section 77, subsection 2. It says, and I quote, "Standing orders shall require that except in a case of emergency, every bill introduced by the government shall be published at least 21 days before the commencement of the meeting at which it is scheduled to be introduced." So based on what that is saying, I will go into that because that is exactly the grounds in which the Honorable Premier is saying he can justify pretty much waiving 21 days because this is such an emergency for what it's about, these bills are about to cover, that he feels that he's in his right position to actually enact this and will get that overall blessing from the people of the Cayman Islands. And look, in certain positions, especially when you're in a leadership role, be it opposition, otherwise, or worse, you're a leader of a government, sometimes you actually have to make decisions that you may not like. You may not get the blessings immediately from general public, but if he feels that comfortable that he could do this, then time will tell. But for the sake of us all understanding this line by line, let me break it down to you, okay? Section 77 means it's new laws. And these new laws are introduced in Parliament. And anyone in Parliament can bring a bill or a motion. We made that clear. And what this means is that any elected member of government or opposition can actually bring something forward for debate. Now, under subsection 2 that I read, normally government must publish a bill for 21 days before it is introduced. And this particular part meant that was put in there in the Constitution to protect public consultation. And it gives people time to read, digest, understand, and give a fair chance to respond. Now, under subsection 3, because I said I would go through the entire thing for the purpose of us continuing to elevate and educate our people. But we're going to keep our focus and we're going to go back to the section 2 that actually some are saying is setting a bad precedence, but without context and justification from the premier and hearing all sides, the public's, what do you think about it? But let's continue on with the class. I'm getting a lot of people are feeling that it's a bad precedence being set, to be honest. I have gotten a number of comments on that. And the mere fact that you're waiving it, it's why they're feeling as though they're nothing. But we'll get back to that, okay? Section 3 says, the bill, except on the recommendation of the minister responsible for finance, the legislative assembly shall not proceed upon a bill, including, let's break it down, okay? Now, this affects taxes or even government spending needed by finance minister's approval. And what this particular section, subsection 3, it is there to prevent surprises and spending or tax changes. And then you have another part of it that says 77 subsection 2, which is as I said, the emergency fast track. Now, if this part of government is used, as I rightly said, the 21-day is being waived. So there is no time for you to weigh in on it, and you're left out. You're left out. So what is happening right now that government used the section 77 subsection 2 to fast track 2 bills? Those 2 bills that they're fast tracking, that there's no time for you to weigh in, whatever, are the Immigration Transition Amendment and Validation Bill of 2026. That's the one that I took almost 2 days to actually break it down for you. And there were more questions than answers. And also this one, we didn't even get to cover this one. That was the Health Insurance Amendment Bill of 2026. And what these 2 bills deals with was who gets recognized as Caymanians, the long-standing permanent residency issues, and you realize now where it was made clear who will be protected by these amendments if these bills are passed in the House, and how decisions are made about overseas medical care and coverage. But friends, we did not get into the Health Insurance Amendment Bill. Because it's actually going on Wednesday, the sitting of the House, I will make you a promise. We will go through it on Monday. Okay, we will go through it on Monday because I want to make sure I personally am comfortable in delivering it in layman's terms to you. So we got one more to go. You heard about cramming for an exam. Yes, that's what we will do on Monday. So these are issues that Caymanians have been, if you really listened on the ground, Caymanians have been struggling with these things for years. And government is saying that in justifying under these section, that government is saying that these delays have gone on for too long and urgent action is needed. So pretty much with what the premier has said, when something like this is of public interest, the government must act. And the action must be lawful, responsible, and decisive. And the issues being addressed at the time are of such high importance to delay. They're too important to delay. And sharing the full certification and reasons with all 19 MPs is what is being described as a new level of transparency. Now, in other words, we're moving fast because people have waited too long enough and they're doing it openly is pretty much what it's saying. So whether or not the opposition, your opposition representative is in support of this, we don't know. I'm guessing the opposition will do an official statement. I don't know. We will see exactly what that will result, maybe over the weekend or maybe by Monday. But this is something that is not really used. But again, you heard what bills are being actually fast-tracked without public dialogue, inclusion, participation. However, I have been told that the minister was on Radio Cayman this morning, and they said that they had met with stakeholders. Yeah, so I guess they have gotten enough representation from those stakeholders to solidify them that those stakeholders actually represent the majority of the Cayman Islands enough for them to actually move on. And the semblance is that Caymanians still feel left out. There's a sector that is saying they're not listening to us, we don't feel included. And with all of this, even though it may yield good results, they're saying, why? What are we, how much more of this is going to happen? And that we're going to be informed the 11th hour, and then bang, it goes to the floor of Parliament for debate and all that sort of stuff. Actually, some people says, I'm over it. They're politically fatigued. They're disappointed. They're losing hope. They expected more participation, understanding all that was actually conveyed as to how this administration was being ran. They're not saying that at the end of the day, what amendments are being proposed is not sound, but really, they've had to grapple with over the Christmas, and I'm trying to regurgitate the conversations that I've had in the last couple of hours, to be honest. When you go back in time and you look at what has transpired and where we are now, minimum wage coming in, fine. The debate of the first amendment to the immigration reform, tranche 1, that deals with sham marriages and trying to shut down all of those. And people were asking for the regulations. It was supposed to be implemented on the 1st of March. That has been delayed. People still haven't been privy to the regulations of that law, even though it was passed in December, still cannot be commenced as was planned for March 1st. And now we have this other amendment to clear up some loose ends that is now going to be fast-tracked into Parliament. Little to no discourse or inclusion with the people, using and citing that at the end of the day, they have the Constitution there and they can do this, and this is why we feel it's important, and we can justify, we will defend ourselves, we will ride the wave for whatever backlash it is, and we will do this. So then you looked at the whole thing with the e-scooters, which, by the way, that comes into effect as of the 1st. That is Sunday. So everybody who's using these e-bikes on the road, remember that now comes into play. You got to make sure that they're licensed and they're insured in your best interest on that as well. And then you looked at all of the new proposed fees for the driver's license. You look at all of the other fees now that are also being proposed to increase immigration application fees, that based on the government, and I'm paraphrasing and off of memory what I heard in circulation, that when the government sat down and they looked at all of what the public was asking for more roads, for infrastructure generally, for education, the wants, pretty much the wants and the wants and the wants, it has to be paid for. I'm not quoting, I'm paraphrasing. And they didn't feel that raising the filing fees for immigration applications would be a detriment, that it would be sustainable, and it would not have any impact on the cost of living. What's your take on that? So when you compile all of these things, and now you're hearing that they're pretty much pulling and using Section 77, subsection 2 to fast track this, of course, people are going to be nervous. It's like we've been in a whirlwind from, let's say, October. That's one person went back from September. All through the holidays, now here we are. And they're just trying to find their way. Now, save the fact that of everything that's going on geopolitically in our region, and we still don't know the uncertainties. Okay, there's so much uncertainties that's happening global that can impact us here as well. So I can understand why people are feeling this way, why they may actually feel that they're left out. And even with transparency, even with urgency, Caymanians are feeling that way. They're feeling confused. They're left outside because they say they're left out of the process, is what some are actually saying. They're uncertain about really the long-term impacts and changes that could come of this, unintended consequences. And they're also worried that the consultation is appearing to take on the characteristic as becoming optional. That one hit home. And because of that, you're hearing the frustration in some of their voice. I'm hearing even tearful in their voices as well. And this is important because fast tracking a bill can feel like it's really and truly skipping the people. And even though inside the government administration building and the powers that be, they may have met with stakeholders, the wider Caymanian is not feeling the love. The wider Cayman society is not feeling the same. And when you look at this now, 21-day public rule, 28-day, 21, whatever that rule is, being bypassed, that is a real obvious thing that there's less time for the public to input and community groups to respond. There were questions that actually came up and concerns that were actually highlighted here yesterday as well in regards to the definition of anyone who was born here now on or before the 26th of March, 1977. They're automatically now, they're automatically Caymanians. Does it stop at them? Or will their spouse, child, children be also entitled, stepchildren, entitled to get status as well on those? And I read an article, on shameless plug, I think the Caymanian Compass, there's an article that it says, a quote from the ministry, that their records must be estimating, and I'm just doing it based on memory, that there's like 2,600 and odd persons who were born in between that time. You heard what I said? There are 2,600 and odd persons that would actually be entitled to be automatically declared as Caymanians. That's only the singular births. But if you don't stop it at them, if that number is right, they may have, let's say, an average of a spouse and 2 children. That's 3 other Caymanians that's going to benefit. You get me? So even though it's 2,600 and odd, if my memory serves me well, you can times that by 3 or maybe 4 more that would be entitled to apply for something, because that one particular category of persons, and that is not the only category, alone will be deemed Caymanian as an individual. And that one individual then may have a husband or a wife, child or children, that it's not clear. And I'm hoping that maybe before Wednesday, some clarifications, if it has not already been out in the public's domain, would be given as to whether or not it's going to be passed on to their child or children. And if so, what would be the benchmark criteria to say, no, you can't pass it on, or yes, you can pass it on. So you understand where the 21-day consultation period is key. Now with what has been actually declared, that's blown out of the water. And for you to possibly get answers to these questions, you're going to have to tune in on Wednesday or whenever the bill actually is being debated. Yeah. So even if the intentions are good, which is why I have to remain balanced, even if the issues are indeed real, having been the former Minister of Health, even if the actions are needed, people still feel like decisions are being made without them. And you cannot say that you're having democracy, a participatory democracy. Transparency is quite loose. You can be as transparent as the cleanest glass that everything could walk through. But the definition could take on many other definitions based on one's actions. So yes, you could be clear as crystal, but the action speaks louder. So it's clear. We see it, we hear it that you're doing this, but the public is saying, what are you doing? We still got all these questions to be asked. We still haven't seen the regulations from the first one of 2025. Now you're amending it again. And we haven't even seen the draft regulations. Not me. I'm just conveying the feedback. We're going to be having a member of the opposition possibly calling us at, and that is Georgetown Central member, the deputy leader of the opposition. Yes, please. Yeah. Okay. And hey, the phone lines are open. Look, I create this space for balanced dialogue. And if all sides don't have an outlet, then can you really say it is democratic society? This is the space, and we want to hear from all sides. And I think it's good. But hey, 936-8255, if you want to weigh in on this, let's talk about it. Do you feel that this move is necessary with this particular bill? I'm asking you, the public. Do you feel like you're left out of the process? This is my space, saved by those who have actually reached out to me personally. And do you feel like the Constitution is becoming a check the box exercise instead of real conversation? And it's funny that question came up because for you to ponder on, because many a times it has been said here, I think Denny actually kept saying it, and Mr. Belika, once to Siobhan, the processes I can recall, that they're saying it's like a tick the box exercise, that it's once it is, and then we'll deal with it. We'll clean up the crap afterwards. And people are actually, a bit concerned. So the phone lines are open. And if you feel inclined, by all means, comment, call in. I'm willing to take your call and to get your feedback. But at the end of the day, this is not something that we as locals are accustomed to. And I know for a fact that some of you are shaking in your boots. I have spoken to a number of even seniors in my community, and they're like, you can hear it in their voice. It's like they're losing hope. And they're pondering, and they're worried about their children and grandchildren, but more their grandchildren. And that is a cause for concern. The trajectory that we're going on, it's almost like a disconnect, a total unplug until you're needed. We roll out the red carpet for you now. Once we get where we're going, the door is shut. We'll get back to you when we need you again. That is what's being described. So, hey, we want to hear back from you on this Open Mic Friday of Sabrina Speaks. Welcome, welcome, one and all. Yes, Jimbo says, when it comes to the public, no matter what the issue may be, there is no possible way to make everyone happy. This is simply and a general comment. Yeah, it's true. But looking in, Jimbo, and thank you for your comment, what it's really highlighting is the move of Section 727(2) and the nature of the bills in which they're actually going to be that's covered under this enaction of the Constitution, Jim. And I don't know who's watching or who's reading all the commentary, or if they care. But when it came to this whole Immigration Amendment and Transition Act, there has been a lot of commentary on it. So you can agree or disagree to say that we need to move, we need to stop. Why hold it up? What Siobhan says, measure once, measure twice, cut once is really what everybody's going back to. So it will be interesting, exactly what the debate will be said on the floor. I'm happy that I took the time, though, to actually go and able to look at the transition bill. But the health insurance one, I'd make you a promise. I'll definitely deal with that with you on Monday. So when you look at the laws that governs this jurisdiction, exactly how they've been enacted, it's not to say that, well, this is the first time they're using it. It was always there. This is nothing new. And if previous administrations didn't have the support or the fortitude to enact such a legislation, then who do you blame? You blame them. The commentary is split about the pace in which things are going, how we're actually changing. And I had one comment that asked, are they in touch with really what's happening on the ground? I've even had some discussions just earlier today as well in regards to work permits. Interesting. And now we have seen, guess what now? Maybe it working already into play. There is an increase. Enforcement officers, listen up. There is an increase of individuals walking around seeking to be gainfully employed, but needs a work permit. And because of the rigorous process of work permits now, nobody don't want to take out the work permits. That may be a silver lining, because maybe, I'm playing devil's advocate here, maybe the reason why you have a number of persons now, and there's an increased number of persons who haven't made the personal decision to leave, which that is a fact. People are leaving. But now you're having those who are literally finding themselves here, either not employed by their employer or work permit denied, work permit will not be renewed for whatever reason. And they're using their time after either cancellation, time after refusal, in order to find alternate employment, but they're having a hard time getting people to take out their work permits for them. And a lot of the reason is that it's not worth the liability, number one. Number two, even legitimate businesses are not fearful, but they're just frustrated at how cumbersome it has been. And when they look at the pool of persons for certain positions, that they are going through the rigors where, something was shared with me today as well that brought this to mind. Persons are registering on the WORC portal. Kudos, it's obviously working. But when employers are actually referred persons from the portal to say, we think this person is a match to work in your occupation for this posting that you have. And those organizations, those employers call the referred individual or individuals from the WORC portal. It looks as though there's no communication to the applicant as to who they are being referred to and for what role they are being referred to. So what is happening is that, and this could probably be a bad thing for the Caymanians, not intentional, because the first call you make to a prospective employee that's referred from the Department of Work is that, hi, I'm Sabrina and I'm calling from WBC Construction Company, and you have been referred to me by work for a position that I post. They are clueless at the time as to what my company is about, what the position is for. The onus is on me. So they know that they're registered, but they don't know who they're going to be fielded to. And therefore, when the other questions are being asked, many a times they're not paired up properly with the positions that they're being referred to. They have absolutely no experience or skill set. that aligns with the position, but yet they're being referred to be placed. And you can look at that both ways, because you may have a company that is in desperate need to fill somebody in their organization, but don't have the time to train. Their application process has been slowed down to vet maybe 2 or 3 persons that even those persons were not aware that those organizations will be reaching out to them. They don't have the skill set or the experience to be able to hit the pavement running. And then that further slows down the process of trying to get a decision for someone that really has the skills in order to deliver. Now, in the conversation, from that exercise with the one particular company that I was speaking to, they actually hired a Caymanian. Okay? But they knew that the position that they needed to fill in the first place still left open. So they've taken on an additional staff that there will be training to do what? They're not even quarter way for the role that they need to be filled. They will never be able to do that. But just to say, I hired someone at the bottom of the tier that I don't need, but because you were referred, you spoke well, you have displayed and you have vocalized the desire to work, I will employ you. Not all businesses financially are going to be able to take that on. And I feel, WORC, that maybe you need to look at who you're referring. In some way, somehow, some contact needs to be made with the applicants so they are prepared. They are aware that you have actually referred them to my construction company, and this is the role that I'm trying to fill. Because if I call them, I'm going to be turned off. But what the heck? You're applying to my company and you don't even know what the role is. You don't even know anything about my company. We are failing them immediately by not communicating to them who are registered as to who you're referring them to so that they can prepare themselves. Okay? So, hint, hint, not coming after you. Never do. Just speak the truth. This is feedback that I'm getting from the public with the whole work permit process. And I think it's something that could benefit both parties. People are asking for faster processing times and for decisions to be had. And again, if this is one of the things that is actually holding up a process, if you're understanding, and if you're someone who out there have to use immigration to apply for work permits, then you will understand that it's real. It's real. And in some small businesses and businesses as a whole, there are certain positions that are critical. You don't have the time to train. I think there was someone who commented yesterday in the discussions that the onus should not be on the employer to train these people. If you all were listening yesterday, and that's what happens now when you're already pulling or asking for additional resources to be pulled from some of these organizations that just don't have the bandwidth in order to do that. But it's not even as if the government is incentivizing these companies if they so take them on. That's a new salary, new pension, additional medical insurance that they would have to provide for this person just because they were referred from WORC, but they do not meet the requirement. Sweeten the pot, maybe, and incentivize some of these employers who are willing to give some of these persons a chance. Maybe that's a suggestion as well. 345-936-8255 is the number to call to join in on this. And it's so good to have you. I see you there in the house. Happy Friday to you, my love. Jimbo says, this sounds as though it should be Caymanians first, up front and center. All Caymanian voices should be heard of those wishing to do so. Right now, the space is open for everybody, because I can tell you, There are local companies, control license that directors are non-Caymanians that they've went through the process and they're also feeling the pinch. There are persons here on both sides of the spectrum that are feeling this. There are Caymanian businesses and households that owns multiple properties right now that are in a bind. There are farmers and gardeners and landscapers into individual households that are being rejected to say Caymanians out there are available to come and clean your yard. Yes, there may be Caymanians out there, but they're Caymanian owned businesses. And if some of the households are actually have the bandwidth, the finances, have multiple properties that need to be taken care of, and they don't have a problem with paying a staff, and they find a Caymanian, singular Caymanian that is willing to do it, of course. But you can't refuse a work permit, or you shouldn't. I shouldn't say you can't, because the law is the law. Based on the mandate, obviously, that has been given to the boards, they have to look at it from a wider prism and look at exactly how cases are being presented. Because if someone, let's say, there's somebody who owns multiple properties and so forth, and they've had somebody with them for 3 years, their properties. They're not only a general person, they do multiple properties. And now you're refusing their renewal after 3 years, for example, to say, go find a Caymanian or Caymanian-owned businesses out there to do that. You think it's fair? These are some of the real stories that are actually happening right now, and the boards are pretty much carrying out their mandate. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks, and it's a pleasure to have the opposition in the house.
Hey, Sabrina, how you doing today?
I'm fair to fine. Happy it's Friday.
Amen, amen, amen. I want to say good evening to your listening audience. First off, before I get started, it's a pleasure to be on your show, and you're talking about a very, very important topic today. One that unfortunately irks me very, very much. And sometimes I'm concerned a lot of people may not understand the significance of what you're saying right now, which has to do with what the government has recently done with the certification of suspending the 28-day public consultation on 3 bills.
Yeah, I said
first
21,
off,
but it's 28. Sorry. Yes, I correct myself.
Yeah. So it used to be 21. You're probably just looking at an older version of the document for standing orders.
Yes.
But ultimately, regardless if it's 21 or 28, for them to waive that consultation period, in my humble opinion, is a very, very bad precedent to do, especially in light of their commitment to transparency and public consultation and commitment. Now, you have rightfully highlighted that, some people will say, well, oh, it's not a big deal. And, that change don't need really a lot of public consultation. But it becomes subjective when you can choose when and if you want to use the term urgent. And I challenged the Premier in a recent business committee meeting about this matter. And to be honest with you, I'm quite saddened that the government has just recently came out with this press release suggesting that they have publicly told everybody this on the basis of trying to be transparent. And I think the wording was quite upsetting for myself, because it's being very disingenuous.
Certificate, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Hopefully I'm not all over the place.
No, you're not. Go ahead.
In the wording of the press release, it says, importantly, and in the unprecedented step forward for greater openness, notice of a certification and full reasons for it were issued yesterday, 25th of February, to the Speaker of Parliament, Honorable D. Ezra Miller, and circulated today to all 19 members of Parliament, setting a new benchmark for parliamentary transparency, which will be refined in the parliamentary standing orders in the near future. The thing that bothers me about that is they had no intention whatsoever on telling the public about this until yesterday, when I confronted them about the misuse of this provision. Now, Sabrina, you are fully aware
Mhm.
of the parliamentary practice of our standing orders,
Mhm.
and the new standing orders under section 2, 3, where it says application of the standing orders. It suggests that where there is ambiguity or no definition as to things within our standing orders, what do we do next? We go to the UK Parliament and use their standing orders, and the Erskine may.
Mhm.
So here we have a problem whereby you were just rightfully looking at section
I have the standing
64
orders
of
here.
our.
I have the standing orders up on the
Okay,
screen.
so
2, 3. Application of standing order in subsection 2 says, you said 2, 3?
then look at 3
Yeah,
and see
3,
what it says.
subsection 3. In a case of doubt, the standing orders of this Parliament shall be interpreted in the light of the relevant usage and practice of the House of Commons and the United Kingdom, but no restrictions which the House of Commons has introduced by standing orders shall be deemed to extend to this Parliament or its members until the Parliament has provided by standing orders of such restriction. That's what
Okay.
3 says.
And the vision before that also says quite similar. Basically, whenever there is not a clarity.
Mm-hmm. Hello?
In the UK, but I should probably be called straight so I don't get any disturbance. I'm most likely
You
will
want me
get
to
calls, but
call you
all the
back?
same. Yeah, I can call you or you call me back, but
Well, go ahead.
in light of no disturbance.
Yeah, you call straight. Call
If-
straight.
if-
That's
if the
better.
person- Okay, I'll call you back, sir.
Okay, yeah. So what I've shared my screen with you is the standing order so that the member from Georgetown Central, as the deputy leader of the opposition, is going through so that you understand exactly from his perspective, exactly where they're coming from with this. And I felt it's important for you to see that for yourself as he goes through it. You're back live, member.
Okay, so we were just speaking about, why this is a big deal and why what they're doing is not the right course of action, regardless of whether you think the public may have differing views. Oh, this is not a big deal in respect to public consultation. I'll waive it because it's a minor thing. But when you start setting precedents for this type of thing, then what you create is when there is a matter that you do want to have your say and contribution to it, they are already setting the precedent for this, and it's a very bad precedent to say. And I have to define for the listening audience why it's wrong what they're doing. So we were just reading the standing orders and the application of the standing orders. 2 and 3 refers to the fact that, and I'll read 2 for you. In any matter not provided in these standing orders, resort shall be had to the uses and the practice of the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, which shall be followed as far as they may be applicable to Parliament and not inconsistent with the standing orders or with the practice of this Parliament. Now, what that means is wherever there's ambiguity as to the interpretation, then you go to Erskine May. So let's go back now to this provision they use within the Constitution.
Okay, I'm going to share that one.
Okay, so the wording is exactly the same within our standing orders, and it's in section 64 if you want to go to it.
Of the
On the standing
Constitution?
orders.
Oh, standing orders.
Of the standing orders. Section 64, 1A. And I'll read it for your listening audience. It says, reading of bills. If a bill complies with the requirements of the standing order 64, examination of bills, the clerk shall, A, cause the text of the bill and the explanatory memorandum to be published as soon as possible, but in any case, at least 28 days before Parliament proceeds with the dealing of the bill, unless the Premier certifies by writing under his or her hand that the consideration of the bill is too urgent to permit such a delay. So now the key word in all of this is what? Urgent. Okay, so you look within the standing orders, there is no definition of the word urgent. So for us to say, okay, what do you mean by urgent? Because there's a vast difference between something that is important and something that is urgent. So if you go to Erskine May, and I'm going to send you, if you just do a Google, and for those who are listening, it's probably a good exercise as we learn together and respect the parliamentary proceedings. If you look at Erskine May and you just Google it, under section 3042 of the Erskine May, and also section 1838, it clarifies that urgency should not be rejected, should be rejected in this matter, because it hasn't gone through the regular means.
Sections what?
The government is 30.42
Mhm.
or 1839. And the difference with that is that it clarifies that urgent matters are considered national health crises, wars,
Mm.
or I'm just trying to find the other, because I'm in my truck on my way home. I just thought I had to call, but I want to make sure I line these all up. But the definition of urgent is specified for emergency things, not just because you didn't get the work done fast enough.
34.
And sadly,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
sadly, the wording in our standing orders is also the wording in the Constitution. So there's a little bit of a leeway I have to give to the government, because the wording within the Constitution doesn't have a definition for what is urgent either.
Mm.
But the Commonwealth parliamentary practice is expected for us to follow the procedures of what is happening in the UK and what is considered urgent in the UK. You could never, ever, ever bring such a bill and circumvent the required public consultation period on the basis of you think it's important, we need to get it done now. If you needed to get it done within a certain period of time, you'd have done the work in a timely manner, because you cannot allow to set a precedent, because later on somebody's going to use that same precedent when it's something like, you know what, we're going to give away 50,000 status holders and we don't need to talk to the people about it. We're going to go down to Parliament and pass the law. You can't allow these types of things to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the disappointing part about it, on top of that, is that the government then, after I highlight it to them, I said, you're misusing that. The issue within our standing orders also is that the public doesn't even get to know. You see this release that they just came out and said, I'm doing a statement on this? It's because I told them, I said, how is anybody going to know that you've done the certification of waiving of these 28 days of public consultation if you don't even, you're not even letting anybody know?
Mm-hmm.
They almost, without me saying something, they were prepared to come to Parliament next week, Wednesday. Nobody knows that these bills were coming because they didn't meet the 28-day mark.
Mm-hmm.
They were published, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I even told you about that, Sabrina. I said, it's going to be interesting to see how this works, because it was published on the 28th.
And
the ones about health,
mm-hmm.
yes, the ones about health were just published later this week. Health-related matters. And I said, well, I know they cannot be bringing these in the next week on Wednesday because they have not met the mark. So if they didn't, if I didn't ring the bell, sound the alarm,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't even tell the public that they're planning to deal with these bills on Wednesday. And so, for example, let me explain to you how important that is, because some people may not understand that. 28 days are for a number of reasons. I represent my constituents. So Mr. John Brown, or let me just use somebody I know. Mr. Spellman Macfield calls me up and said, Kenneth, I don't like this particular bill that is coming. Mr. Spellman Macfield has 28 days to talk to me before that bill comes to Parliament,
Mm-hmm.
for me to be able to have his voice. So he's thinking, under law, okay, there's no big deal. I got 28 days to get to Kenneth, to tell him, this is my voice. I do not like this, and I want you to represent me in Parliament and tell them this, tell them that. I don't like that, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's across the board for all of my constituents. But if they don't know that they're going to waive it and the Premier has waived it, how do my constituents know to talk to me about it? The second point is this. If you don't notify the public and the opposition, how can the opposition prepare for it? So Wednesday is coming, and it's by mistake that I caught this. I said, hold on. I was talking to the minister saying, Minister, I would like to have a sit down with you about this bill, because I don't want to talk in Parliament against you. I want to understand where you're coming from. So let's collaborate and talk. In the email, the guy says, well, I'm planning to deal with it on Wednesday. And I'm going, hold on for a minute. How can you possibly deal with this on Wednesday?
Hold on, back up, so that the public can understand what you're saying.
Okay, sorry.
Break that down again with what transpired.
Okay, so as a part of my duty as a shadow minister for the Honorable Michael Miles. I always try to do my due diligence with a bill.
Yes.
Minister, can we sit down and understand what you're trying to accomplish with these new amendments? Maybe there's something I'm not seeing. I try my best not to just only interpret what I think it's saying, but give them the opportunity to explain. Had email correspondence. He said, I'm happy to meet with you after the sitting of the House, which I don't understand how that works, because I need to meet you
But that
before
would
we
be
go
in
to Parliament.
hindsight so that you would know what's going before and you prepare your speaking. Yeah.
Correct. So no meeting before Parliament. I give up. All right. I tried my best. I have proof that I've tried to do the responsible thing to reach out. He wants to meet after the meeting. I'm not, that doesn't make sense. By then the law is already passed. But in it, I caught on to it. And then this is how I found out. He says, well, we're dealing with the bill on the 4th, which is the sitting of the House. And I said, well, you can't deal with that bill because you haven't met the 28 days requirement. I'm not saying it to him, you know. I'm saying that to myself in my head. And then I brought it to the attention of the parliamentary members, and they said, well, they've certified it as to be known to circumvent the 28-day requirement under section 64(1)(a), which the Premier has to say that this is urgent. I said, well, are you going to tell anybody? Are you going to tell me so I can prepare myself on behalf of the people? Are you going to tell the people of the country that this has happened? And only when I brought it up and I went to town on the Premier, I said, Premier, how can you have democracy being played like this? And then to add insult to it, he goes, oh, this lovely press release, oh, we're doing this in a spirit of transparency. That's BS. Cayman people, that is BS. Do not make them fool you with saying they're doing this because they were doing it because we wanted you all to know. They had no intentions of telling anybody until I brought it up. And that's a disappointing thing, because what happens, regardless of how minor, major you may perceive this bill to be, you would have missed out of your opportunity to consult with your MPs about the matter. Here's the icing on the cake. The minister, I think you were speaking about it this morning, was on the radio, came on saying, well, you know what, it is what it is. We need to get it done. We've suspended the standing, the 28-day requirement. I am so sorry. I know that sometimes you want to get things done quickly. I get it. I was a minister. I want to get bills passed. They're important to the public. But you cannot throw out the baby with the bathwater. The principle is there so that one day when a bad government, if you believe you're the good government, if you set this precedent, one day when a bad government comes in and say, well, they do it all the time, no big deal. No big deal, we're gonna do it. So don't worry about what public says. I don't care how small it is. You follow the rules because the rules are there for a reason. Check this out now. So I have to prepare now without any support, no administrative support, to understand the clauses, go through the legal ramifications of it. And now I know that everybody thinks an MP should be a lawyer, but we're not all lawyers. As a matter of fact, even lawyers need drafters to draft it. So I have to go through the bill, understand the clauses, and thankfully, 3 of them are quite minor in their interpretation. I'm not bothered by them. It's about the principle of the matter. The first one, who's right to be Caymanian, that needs to be quite clear of what the intent of that is, because there is some people who interpret it as a very serious issue. So an issue like who would have the right to be Caymanian, and you're going to suspend the opportunity for people to have their say on that, I am sorry. I think it's a bad precedent to make. And then to come back and basically be dishonest as if to say, this is you being transparent of it, and you never intended to do that. I am so disappointed, because though I may disagree with policy decisions of the government, I always found Andre to be a person of, okay, you know what, we're not going to disagree. We can be fundamentally, maybe he's Republican or what have you. We may not have the same policy ideas, but I respected what I perceived to be his commitment to being honest and transparent. And I found that to be inappropriate in his comments to say, oh, we're doing it for transparency, and they never wanted to do that. They had no intentions of doing that. But anyway, it is what it is.
How do you get over persons probably missing the message because it's being delivered by yourself, but not seeing it for what it is? How do you get over that?
I can't. I
You
can't.
understand where I'm coming from with that?
I
Because it
know
don't
I
matter
do.
how you
Just
scream from the mountaintops, they'd be like, okay, maybe it's just because you're not with the government. I'm being
yeah,
devil's advocate, but they're not listening to what you're saying. I'm being as
yeah,
diplomatic, and you're pretty much repeating everything that I've said, but I'm in a different position. I'm not elected. And
so,
but it is frustrating. I can define your emotion. I can define your frustration because you were on the other side. And I don't think
yes,
that people understand the democratic side and the disenfranchisement that this could actually bring to them if it was something else more serious that the public from a national perspective, like we said, this could yield all good intentions, but maybe because it's something that is not exercised as often and it's the first time, people have gotten a little bit nervous. Now, you sitting in the opposition, I can understand your frustration, but people, John Public may not, Kenneth. And they may say
well,
you're just blowing your top again because that's what Kenneth does, but they're missing the forest for the trees from what you're trying to see, is what I'm trying to
yes.
get at.
No, trust me, I totally get it. I read the comments afterwards. I see it. You know what? But what do I do? Not speak because of
Yeah.
people's perception of it. Some people will get it. It's like the gospel, right?
Yeah.
You know, you go out and you try to, sing the praises of Jesus Christ and what he did for your soul and all that stuff. And maybe you get 5% who's listening. That doesn't mean that you stop because 95 isn't listening.
Correct.
One day, the as they say, chickens will come home to roost.
Like I said about Denny's before his time. And like I said, oh my gosh, Denny said that. Denny said that. He's been hammering on that. You may not understand now, but to bring it into perspective, Bojangles didn't last. Taco Bell didn't last. You see what I'm saying?
Blockbusters didn't last either. But
exactly.
let me say this. Here's what's going to happen. And I'm going to give you a look. And folks, for those who may think I may be blowing my top, which is fine. That's your right to think that. Here's what they're going to say. Here's what they're going to get up and say in Parliament. When does it now that it's become a public spectacle? Because I warned them. I said to the Premier and his team, I promise you this is not going to go away. Strategically, very smartly, they came up with a press statement right away. And I give them credit for that. But don't make it seem like this was your intention or what you wanted to do. It's just that you got caught. You got caught. And that's what happened. But here's what they're going to say when they get to Parliament. Well, these are the number of times it's been done before. And that's not an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
That's like saying, oh, this one used to do it, that one used to do it, so therefore I should do it. 5, 10, or 20 leaders before was doing the wrong practice. That's not what you're supposed to be selling. So if, for those who are listening on his side, if you get up in Parliament and use that excuse, it's not what a government should be doing. Because that's what that's the only thing they can come up with, because it's not right to do that.
Mm-hmm.
There's emergencies and importance of bills. All bills are important, no matter what the change is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be bringing it. But there's a difference between importance and urgent. Matter of fact, I dare say that the other 2 bills, which had to do with the health insurance and the minister being able to sign off on who can get health care,
overseas and how the process is done. Mm-hmm.
Is more of an urgent and probably a national emergency than this immigration change. So here's the irony of it all. Oh my God, they talk about not rushing it, right? The minister gets up on the radio today. He said, we plan to implement this on the 1st of April. All right, cool. That's a good thing that you announced today, because he told me that, but it wasn't my place to tell the public.
Day today, no?
Oh boy, Sabrina, don't bring that to it.
6
please.
o'clock. You know who comes.
Oh boy. Yeah. Inside joke.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Here's an interesting point about that now is that the bill could be passed before April the 1st and still not circumvent the people's right to have their say for 28 days.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was published on the 20th of March. You got 8 days in this week if they just postpone the parliament after this first 3 days
Mhm.
and come back, say on the 20th or the 23rd is a Monday, I think, and just say, okay, now I'm going to deal with this bill, and give the people their opportunity to write to their MPs,
Mhm.
write back to the ministry, write to the minister.
Mhm. Then the 28-day
You
threshold would have been met.
and the threat, and you would still be able to implement it on the first.
Mhm.
So why would you do that? It's like they want to stop people from having an input on this matter, which is disturbing. You said a very good point, and I don't think people caught on to it. He said he had public consultation with all the stakeholders and business owners.
Mhm.
I guess the average person don't matter. I guess it's only the business community that matters in the consultation process. So you met with all the businesses. Great. I think that's a great thing because you can't leave them out. They're the key employers for our people in our society. But where was the public consultation on these 4 bills for the public?
With common man. This
The
is what I'm
common
saying.
man.
I'm hoping that whatever engagements he's alluding to, actually, he's comforted that that represents the larger voting populace and that
I have to
every
assume that.
sector. Yeah. So I'm just saying, because he's very comfortable in saying we met with persons, but is that a true representation of the majority? Is what my ask was in my statement.
Yeah, well, I mean, it could have been because I must give credit where credit is due. I think the offer was there for the public to come, but it was mainly for stakeholders. So you met the mark. Listen, I let you know I'm having it on this day, but what if the person couldn't get there in that period of time? I'm not comfortable with shortening the period of time. There's even a reason why. Sorry for the rooster in the background. We're in Cayman. Yeah. Well, you remember it used to be 21 days.
Yeah, used to be.
And legislators said, you know what, that's not enough time
Give it
for
longer
us to
time.
talk, to give it longer time. And then you shorten it. It's bad precedent. I'm sorry, you may not like my approach politically, but it's wrong in principle. The premier knows it, Michael Miles knows it, and it's wrong. You're setting a bad precedent. And if it comes one day when the government or any administration throws something down your throat that meets this vague criteria as urgent, I can say, oh, you know what, the chickens are eating up everybody's fruits, and this is considered an urgent matter. We're gonna wipe out all the chickens. Because you say that it's urgent doesn't make it urgent. It has to have a criteria. There has to
As
be a
defined
definition.
for the context in which it's being used. Yeah.
Correct. And this is not considered an urgent matter. It's a substitute. They're using urgency for a substitute of their failing to get it done in the rightful time. Why didn't you know Parliament was sitting? Matter of fact, the Premier decides when Parliament is going to meet. So did the Premier say to your minister, listen, we are planning to meet on the 4th of March. Make sure 28 days counting backwards, your job is done with those amendments. Let's just say he wasn't done with the amendments. Should it be the other way around? Okay, minister, go to the Premier. Premier, I am now finished with my amendments. I'm ready to go. Can you count 28 days from the day that I say I'm ready for when Parliament is going to meet? Who's not talking to who? Or do they not care that 28 days belong to the people so they can consult with their MPs, understand, read the legislation, understand the implementation and the consequences of it, so they can go back and say, government, you know what? I support you on that. That's good. Or, hey, listen, I have a problem with that. Therefore, I need to talk to my MP. Now, you may not like me, but my people deserve the right amount of time to consult me. I am their voice, and I take that job very seriously. And they should be ashamed of themselves from doing this. It's not justified at all. And they know what their steps supposed to be when there's ambiguity in the standing orders is to go to the Erskine May standing orders in the UK, and it simply defines exactly what urgency is. And it's not just because you didn't get the job done in time. I am sorry. Anyway, Sabrina, I vented today.
Not speaking. No, that's fine. Not speaking or putting you in a position to speak on behalf of anybody else. But where are the other members of the opposition speaking out in regards to what just rolled out? Will they be doing it in their own list? No, not necessarily the party. I'm speaking in general. When I say opposition, whether or not you're carrying the red flag or you're over on that side, what I'm saying is maybe hearing from them whether they support this move or not. The time is shortened. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People keep hearing you, which is why you keep getting beaten, that you're just angry or
That's
you're
okay.
ignorant.
That's
Or
okay.
you just, all you talk about is Georgetown Central, and you just want to, that because you were in media, you want. What I'm saying is just how you're doing this. Representation is there from other constituencies as well, that people may want to hear from them as well with what they think of this 7 to 7 2. Okay, maybe they may say, to heck with it, I'm doing it in my own small quarters, I don't need to get on a public platform, and I will have my stay that'll be down in the Hansards. Who cares about going on a public platform? But what I'm saying, based on the contracted timeline between now that this PR went out and Wednesday, I would think everybody would be clamoring to be saying something. Or is it just too fresh of an election to care? They
Well,
got time to butter it up. I'm just asking the question.
I think there's a little bit of both. So I'm obviously unorthodox. I don't approach politics, and I'm not, shiny, polished politician. I'm quite fine with who I am. The good people of Georgetown Central elected me as I am. They know I'm bold. They know I'm not afraid to say what I want to say, and I'm not afraid to go on anybody's platform to say so, even if I get criticized. My job is to be the people's voice, and that's what I'm going to do regardless. I'm never going to have everybody like me.
Yeah.
Not everybody going to take that same approach. Now, here's the other thing. In respect to the other members, they're just as frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
They may be more clean cut as an approach and might want to do a statement. And we considered it. They played a very good game. They came out quickly with a statement and trying to make it polished up because they knew we were coming. We were planning to release a statement today. And it goes, now, if we release a statement, it's going to look like, oh, we just counteracting what they're trying to say. When in truth is, they would never had said anything if I never said something about it. That's the truth. Right. But I'm not going to just make that go by. I'm not going to do the polished politician type of thing because I know most people don't have the time to sit down for hours and hours and hours watching Parliament. Mm-hmm. So that's why I come to platforms like this, where unconventional persons will sit down and listen for 1 hour or 2 hours. They can't sit for hours and hours, where we're going to vent and the misuse of standard, and nothing comes of it. Right. But I have to say it for the record so that people know. So this rant today isn't about now, because they got the numbers, and this is going to happen whether we like it or not. Michael Myers is going to get up.
I said it yesterday. They got the numbers.
They got the numbers. Michael is going to get up on Wednesday and said, yes, a member is just getting in the way of all of our stuff and all that, and they're going to miss the mark. They're going to miss the point until one day down the line, when this comes back to haunt us because of principle. Right. So, hey, it is what it is. And I've said my piece, and I plan to say my piece again. So I know they're listening. You have a preempted idea of what I'm coming with in my debate, but it's wrong, and you can't swing it no other way.
What would you say to those persons to say, well, okay, Kenneth, you know that they have the numbers. Why then still go on with this theatrics? Why are you throwing your balls in a play? I'm being devil's advocate so that one of these days,
I get
when
you.
this
I totally
personality
understand.
comes out, people will understand exactly you've always ever had this fire in you, because now it's being misunderstood because they're probably not realizing, yes, Kenneth is still passionate, but he hasn't changed who he's always been. But they have the numbers, whether or not they were going to say, everybody in a particular sector of this country, we're going to block you off from all of things that you're supposed to be have access to. We got a number, so it doesn't matter what Kenneth says. It doesn't matter how much he throws his balls. We're still going to get through. Just flip on. What would you say to some people that thinks that?
Well, I mean, the assumption that because they have the numbers, I sit back and say nothing, and that means I'll be quiet for four years, and that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? My people sent me here to highlight things that are important to them, sometimes when they don't recognize it themselves. So the average person is trying to live, they're trying to raise their kids, they're trying to get through the high cost of living. They got other things to stress about. My job is to stress about the things they can't see for them.
And
right?
see it from a different side as well, because not
see it from a
everybody
different side.
understands it from being an elected person. Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this. What if we find out that this new change and one of the sections finds out that we actually now going to have an influx of probably about 1,000 people who are going to become Cayman that we didn't know were Cayman before?
Over 2,000, nearly 3,000.
I'm not making a suggestion. I'm waiting for that debate, because what I understand now, and I think there needs to be some clarity here. Apparently, this is going to be a surprise to a lot of people. Apparently, if you were born in the Cayman Islands before 1977, you were automatically Caymanian anyway. Bet you a lot of people didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
So here we go. Check this out. I'm going to give you an example. Miss Susan Brown came to the Cayman Islands in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
Just in passing, you know, Cayman had an opportunity. Cayman was just starting to kick off. Things are going well. And she had a baby boy, Mark Brown,
Mm-hmm.
right? But she moved on. She said, you know what, Cayman is not the place that I want to finally stay. Her friend in New York City said, hey, come on down, Miss Brown. You know, they have a good job in New York. She moved to New York.
Mm-hmm.
Brown now is 50 years old,
Mm-hmm.
the United States citizen, a proper New Yorker, talks like a New Yorker. I've never been to the Cayman Islands. Yeah, my mom had me in the Caribbean in the Cayman Islands, but I've never been there before. He has no idea what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Headlines hit. Anybody born in the Cayman Islands before 1977 is automatically Caymanian. But here's the truth. They already are Caymanians if they apply. Now, this rule will say, listen, you don't have to apply. Just show your birth certificate and proves that you're Caymanian.
Mm-hmm.
So they can come here and get all the rights that they need, and they're the children and everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So you tell me, if that's not something that you want to clarify to the people, it's not going to be a mistake. Do you think that we should be shortening the consultation process for something possibly like that could happen? Do you think that we should not have a town hall meeting to say, hold on, what do you mean by everybody who born in Cayman? Because you see, everybody's thinking that everybody who was born in Cayman before 1977 was Caymanian.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of transit workers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, those who are Caymanian, even those who were not Caymanian, that were born here and lived here and continue to live here, have their other children, their homes and all that, they continued the process in Cayman and became a part of Cayman. And if we are clarifying it for them just to make sure they're Caymanian, then I support that wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm.
But what about those who transitioned on and left Cayman? And now, do you think just by the simple fact of birth that they should have a right to Cayman? I do not agree with that. And I don't think many Caymanians would agree with that either. And you're now doubling down on it by saying, listen, you don't even have to go in and make the application anymore. You just need to present your birth certificate and it's automatic. And you, come on. And you want to then shorten the consultation period to understand what the people feel about that? I think it's wrong. That's why I said earlier, the 4 other things which were, you know, to increase the fees for expedited process, expedited processes of work permits and so forth. Those are non big deals, right? Nobody worries about those. But if you put a clause in where you're amending something that says right to be Caymanian, you got to make sure that people know what that means.
But it doesn't stop at that individual, because once they're automatically, now it allows their children, their spouse, their partners to also benefit from the benefits of being that Caymanian, sir. It's not just that person.
Sabrina, as my friend and as 2 Caymanians, I hope my blabbering today, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong. But the thing about 28 days is to give clarity and comfort to the people. Say, no, I'm not screwing this up. Let me explain before you go to Parliament. Mm-hmm. It's how democracies are run. And again, they're throwing out the baby with the bathwater because they want to rush things. At first, remember when we debated this in Parliament in December, I said, guys, why don't you just wait till after Christmas so we can sit down properly? We're not rushing the bill. Now, we're here. We can't implement the bill because you got four more amendments. So you wasn't rushing it before. I mean, I'm sorry. It may sound like I'm just complaining, but if you pay attention to my job every day is to watch and critique and examine the process to make sure my people get the right outcome. I'm a part of the filtering process, so they can't jump over and go around corners. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing my job, and I'm not going to ease up on that. But I think that they got to stop these kinds of things. It's not right. It is not right that people have. If there's one Caymanian who goes, I want my time to be able to talk about this, you cannot take away their constitutional right. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way.
Okay, well.
So that's my opinion. One last thing I want to leave you with is this, right? And somebody brought it to my attention. I was like, you know what? That's a very interesting point. They're talking about creating a fast track system for persons who, do well, business owners, to say, listen,
What do they call it again?
Was that the accreditation system that they were
Accreditation
trying to
system.
get in from?
Okay.
Yeah, that has been
Yeah,
around
so-
from 1994,
Yeah, but can I ask you a
2004.
question?
Mhm.
I want you to think about the question I'm going to ask you, right? Because it boggled me. Because just tell me if you see the same thing I see. What's the difference between accreditation system to get fast track work permits and paying for it?
None.
Okay, let me explain. So the intention is to incentivize business owners to do well. You know, you treat Caymanians good or you hire more Caymanians, we're going to fast track your work permits. All right, that's good. Sounds great. But if you have a fast track system where you can pay for it, well, I don't need to be a good corporate citizen. I'll just pay for it.
But the accreditation system was those who could actually demonstrate that they got robust training programs, that their numbers of scholarships that they give, that the amount of Caymanians that they have versus in their overall ratio is pretty much balanced, that they have succession planning in place. It wasn't just one thing of paying a fee. It was a number of things that back in the 90s when I was in immigration and Mr. Manderson was still actually chief immigration officer, that was the envision. I can remember Ms. Sherry Bodden being one behind that as well, just trying to roll out this accreditation system. But for some reason, it never got off the ground.
Well, I mean, bear in mind now, and I'm not saying that an accreditation system isn't a good thing. That's not what I'm saying.
I get you. But I said it
But-
wasn't just in isolation of paying a fee, you getting this and getting that. It was what was originally put forward would have been a total package that they brought balance. They even looked at the amount of nationality that you had in the organization, but it played special attention to
Yeah, but
upward
what was-
mobility of Caymanians, training,
What is the
and
benefit?
that sort
What
of
is the
stuff.
benefit? What is the benefit you get for all of those things as a business owner? Let's think. Let's
The
talk it
benefit
through.
is that you wouldn't have, because of you demonstrating that you're doing all of these good things, you would have demonstrated good corporate citizen and practice, that the mere fact that you're actually applying for a work permit, it means that that position is either short in supply or there's definitely nobody here with the skill set in order to fill the role. In other
you
words,
mean
you only
so
come to immigration if it's a dire need for a work permit because you have all the other things in place then. That's really the
I agree with you, but what is the benefit for it? Because what you're saying is a fast track for accredited employers. Your benefit is you don't have to wait in the line. You can go to the front of the line because you're a good corporate citizen. And I'm saying to you, if you have a fast track system that you can pay for, what's the difference? Because I don't have to be a corporate citizen. I can just pay for the fast track system. You see what I'm saying? So it boggles my mind because the truth be told, the pressure that the employees at work are getting, I feel so bad for them. I know they can't even voice, they can't even say anything, but they have no extra staff. And I asked the minister, say, sir, during budget, do you want to add a couple more dollars to hire some more people? You're going through a transitional circumstance of bringing some new things that we all want and love. The new members in your staff need to understand how this works. You need to train them. They're currently backed up by thousands of applications right now, but they won't tell anybody that. But if you ask anybody in the service in quiet, they will tell you that because they're going too fast.
Not what I got from the interview that clip that was shared with me. Apparently now they're gonna. There's envision for a new space where the boards will be meeting, and in short order, all of the current backlog will be cleared up. I don't want to say the wrong time, but I get that maybe before April, all of the thousands that you're referring to would be cleared up, so there will not be a backlog.
Oh, well, I hope that I am wrong, and I hope my intel is wrong. But I tell you what, there's two types of ways that things get approved, right? Administrators and boards. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
According to law.
According to
And
law.
with the amended law that was passed but not yet commenced, more powers were given to the director of WORC. But that doesn't apply because it's not enacted yet. But yes, administrators and the boards.
We'll see.
There's a question came in on WhatsApp for you.
Yeah.
And I quote, "Good evening, Honorable Kenneth Bryan. Can I ask you for your perspective on returning to a system where Caymanian status is granted primarily by descent and making status acquired through marriage and non-transferable, we are now a minority in our own country.
I think that one day we're going to get to that point, whether we like it or not. I'm going to tell you, in all jurisdictions, that they have more non-nationals than there are nationals. The only way you protect the culture and the heritage of it is you have no access to rights to it other than through marriage and descent. And at this point, I think it was Sherry Ann said this on her group chat. I think it was yesterday or today. She says, at this point, our elected members will probably not be Caymanians anymore. And that's the simple truth. And when I spoke about immigration reform, many people, almost 9 out of every 10 people used to say, listen, it's time to shut it down now. The only way you get it is through marriage or through by descent.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Meaning by you have a family member who's a Caymanian, because we cannot sustain this. Eventually, we're going to lose everything that we are. When a person becomes a Caymanian, I do not blame people who are foreign that come here. They bring their culture, they bring who they are. They can't forget it. If I go to New York, I'm not going to forget that I'm a Caymanian. That's why in New York, you have a Chinatown, a Jamaica town, a Filipino town, an Indian town, an English town, because they bring who they are with them. If we have more of them than they are of us, then Cayman will no longer be here. We have to recognize that no matter whether we like it or not. And this is not us versus them, right? But this is about a protection of who we are. Right. So I get the point, right?
We're already on the back foot with estimates of the national average, where generational Caymanians is now saying 20%. The reality is some are saying it's actually 17. And maybe this is a way of trying to boost up the number, but it would not be generational Caymanian if you include all of those who get it through status, grounds of naturalization.
Well,
you
how I
can't
see
say
it,
that they're generational.
Correct. And how I see it is, right, you're in the boat now. There's no hole on your side of the boat. When there's a hole in the boat, there's a hole in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So those who are part of this family, now we're all in this together. Let's make a culture of all of us here.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to start protecting and closing the door. Like my mom said one day on WhatsApp, I think Sandra brought it up. We full up. You understand?
I remember that statement.
We is full up. Now, there's a difference between your population growth by people coming here to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a different thing. Your population can grow to 200,000. That don't mean that who become Caymanian, the numbers have to change there.
Mm-hmm.
What we got to protect, is not how many people come here, even though there's adverse effects for housing and traffic and all that. Part we need to protect is who become Caymanian.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not satisfied that it's addressing that mainly. I'm very happy about the addressing of the, marriage is a convenience because that's being abused. I'm happy that they're addressing those type of things. I think the director should have some more power to be able to fight these things from a legal perspective. There's a lot of great things in it, but the tune, attitude, and approach to how we're doing this, something is going to slip through the cracks, quite like those status grants before, and then we are going to be upset about it 10 years from now. And then at least I'll have my piece to say, listen, I spoke.
But
when
MP
things will
Brian,
happen.
Nothing slipping through the crack right now. You have just highlighted something, and I keep saying it, I don't think anybody listening to me. Anyone who was born here on March 26, 1977 and earlier are automatic Caymanians. Unless we are told otherwise, if it stops at the individual based on the example that you gave of the person born in New York, Kenneth, that is not the only status that is going to actually impact our numbers.
Well, I agree with you to a certain extent. Here's what I mean. I have not gotten the feedback I need to get. I got a legal analysis looking at that. So I think what you're trying to say in that case is this. That same person that we were talking about in the example, Miss Brown and her son, who's, I can't remember, I called him Jason Brown, I think. I said Jason, and Jason is a New Yorker now. Now with this change, will Jason Brown's son, he's 50 years old, he probably has an adult child and potentially even grandchildren. Will their grandchildren be able to call up to Cayman and say, listen, I have my grandfather is Caymanian. My father was Caymanian. They were born there, so I can apply. That's the worry. On the grounds of descent. And I can't get these answers because you know why? There's been no public consultation.
Yeah.
So
every one of them over the age of 18, if you read the law for what it is right now, actually could come and apply through the board for status on the grounds of descent if more context, more elaboration
Well,
is given in legal terms to say, well, this is how far this piece of string is going to go.
well, here's the thing. Why I'm not willing to go out on that limb, because I'm not certain on my evidence and my information as to the interpretation that will be the case. What my natural reaction is, based on other pieces of legislation in immigration, is that's what normally happens. Once you have a descendant who is Caymanian, or a parent or grandparent, according to right now, you can apply and say, I'm a descendant of a Caymanian.
Correct.
So these persons who were born here automatically, whether they continue to live here or not, and I want to make this distinction, because there are many Caymanians, many people who born in Cayman and lived there for all their life, and we probably went to school with them. But I remember one day I was going to, I must have been about 21, and one of my closest friends started crying to me. He said, boy, can I gotta go home? I said, what do you mean you gotta go home? He said, yeah, boy, they're telling me I gotta go back to Jamaica. And now he didn't say that Jamaican accent, because I didn't even know his parents were Jamaican.
Right.
But they've lived their life all the time here in Cayman. And I'm asking the question, those people are not the people I'm concerned about. Those are the people I think should get the right. I'm talking about the ones who did not commit, did not invest, did not build upon what our forefathers built upon together in this boat and rowed to this destination that we're at now. Do you think they should have the right to be Caymanian? I don't think so, and I don't think we should be supporting automatically giving it to them. Now, if you can show that you continue to be a resident in Cayman, continue to contribute to this country, then I would support that. But can we get the clarity to that? No. You know why? Because they haven't done public consultation, because they've waived the right under the fact that this is urgent. I know what is urgent. It's urgent to get clarity to that, to my people to know what you're going to go down to Parliament to pass. Sabrina, I gave you enough for today. May the good Lord bless your listeners and everybody in Cayman. Have a wonderful weekend. I love you all. I will continue to fight as my heart tells me to do in Parliament. I hope everybody tunes in on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday next week for the Parliament sitting. You take care, darling.
Thank you, MP Brian.
All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye. There you have it. Thank you, MP Brian, for calling in. Like I said, I've been having the appeal here. The lines were open. It's open mic Friday, and he called. I entertained him. I love when you know that there was another call. There we go. Well, you're going to have to speak like Peter Gonzalez. Good evening, caller. How are you?
Good evening, Sabrina, and good evening to the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, who has just left. But I was listening for quite a while. I didn't catch him from the very beginning, but I think I might have caught him maybe from 40 minutes or, before,
It was recapping, but from different perspectives, still coming around to the same thing. So you caught him exactly, probably on a repeat.
Okay, yeah, because I was like half asleep. And
from different perspectives, we were just recapping it, giving it from a different angle, and yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, because I was like half asleep when I got up. I wasn't even quite sure whether he was in a dream or he was actually talking. But you know what? And I deliberately decided to call about this time because I wanted to ensure, first of all, that let the two MPs talk. Let's learn something first, huh? So, but let me say this: the Honorable Kenneth Bryan, on a personal note, is probably the one. I respect all the other 19 members. They consult with their constituencies, but he's probably right at the top of the list in terms of his desire to engage with the public through the shows. And I get the impression also on the ground, okay? And even from what he has just said just today, some of the issues I issues myself had thought about, but there's quite a few things I've also learned as a result. So first of all, I wanted to pay him that compliment. But about the whole bill again, it has been done in a sloppy way, and I agree with him. By the way, what he said today, I agree with everything, 100%, what I heard. It is, first of all, it's a sloppy way to do things. You started off, first of all, when you came in, you said this is the government now. When they came in April, I think it was, we are going to do this within the first 100 days, and this is very important. They started campaigning initially, not so much talking about immigration, but just about everybody in the end was talking about immigration. We want to do this and we want to do that.
What have they done when they come in? First of all, I think it didn't need 8 months to do this because some of this work had already been done.
Mm-hmm.
That is point number one. And then now that they have done it, they've done it in a sloppy way. You see, once you write legislation, and then too soon after that, you start making changes, it is because you didn't do a good enough job from the very beginning. Because not only have they come with this new bill now, they have also said, well, now we are going to have to move the date. And then they decided we haven't grandfathered enough people. We want now to grandfather in some more. And the point that I picked up from Kenneth, and I think you sort of like raised that same issue. This issue about status for people using March the 26th, 1977
And
as a
earlier.
cutoff point.
And earlier.
Yeah, and earlier. Yeah, that they are automatically Caymanians. That hasn't been sufficiently explained. I agree with him. It hasn't been sufficiently explained because maybe you are thinking of one or two people who maybe it hasn't worked very well with them. You are now saying everybody born before that date, but have you told us whether it will apply to their spouses, their children? And as he pointed out just before he signed off, is this really intended to cover somebody who is born in Cayman and then goes to New York when they're 4 years old and they've never been back in Cayman? Then when they come back to Cayman, they've got a wife and children, and are they all going to be grandfathered in? Now, in the way it is
Not
written
probably
at the moment,
grandfathered in, but would be entitled to make an application.
oh yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
it's a
they are
benefit.
not being grandfathered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you are saying those are essentially like they're more or less Caymanians by right. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Of the ties, they would have biological ties then of a parent or grandparent born in the islands, which under grounds of descent right now, they would check the box.
And that grandparent who would benefit from this, their own parent need not to have been a Caymanian by right. Is that what they are saying? In other words, if I'm just born in Cayman before that date,
mm-hmm.
if I was a person from, I don't know, from St. Lucia, and my parents were working in Cayman before that date, and I was born in Cayman. Even if they are not Caymanians by descent, they were not born in Cayman, do I also become automatically Caymanian?
No, it wouldn't be automatic for the parent. It would only be, okay, what I understand, and I stand to be corrected, anyone born, and we're only talking about the first part, anyone born on or before the 26th of March, 1977, automatically is a status holder. That's one. Now, we all know anybody who apply for Caymanian status, you declare on your application form all of your dependents, right? But the only one who's granted the status is the applicant. If the applicant, in this case now, if you were born here before, but up to that date, you're automatic. The reason why you declare those on your form is to actually signal to the board, oh, they have 3 dependents, 1 is a spouse. We can have 4 more applications coming to be Caymanian under the various sections. You understand? So even though we're saying, let's say they've done their research and they've checked the records and there were 2,000 persons born here on the 26th of March, between the dates. I don't know how far back they went, but there's approximately 2,000 people. Let's say they're all 50. We don't know how much of them have stayed here that would automatically be able to think. And based on the example Kenneth gave, we don't know how much is away, but let's say they're 50. That one individual that is automatic could have grandchildren now that would have direct ties to a person being born in the islands to apply to the board under the current law and system on the grounds of descent.
Okay, I understand that part of it. But with regard to that person who is born before March 1977, do they become automatically Caymanian regardless of whether their own parents were Caymanian?
Yes, that's what this is
You know,
saying. That's what I get from this.
and that's what I get from it as well. So that really makes it very, very wide. It means that I could have been an expert, unless there's some other law which prevents that. It means I could have been an expert working in Cayman in 1970, and I had 2 kids, and then I worked for 4 years, and then I went back. If I am what those kids who are born from me as an expatriate living in 1970, those kids are automatically
Now,
Caymanian and they can come back.
They had to at least once upon a time, if you wanted to answer, challenge it, you had to apply.
Yeah.
What is being said it's
yeah,
automatic.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because in other words, so long as you prove those facts, okay, the fact that you were born, so long as you prove that, then you are automatically Caymanian.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you see, when somebody comes in Cayman and has to earn it by 15 years and has to meet certain requirements, it's not an entitlement as such, because you have to meet all these other requirements.
Mm-hmm.
But this is saying it by your mere fact of being born in the Cayman Islands on that date,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what the status of your parents were at that
Mm-hmm.
time, whether they were expatriate,
Mm-hmm.
you were automatically Cayman. And
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whether you went back to the States to go and live from the age of 4 years to now, you can come back.
Yes, sir.
That's the way it seems, but it looks like they haven't talked about that. You see, this is the problem. They haven't consulted enough. These things are being pointed out, and they want to insist that, well, but it is because it wasn't urgent. Let me talk about what urgency is supposed to mean.
2 minutes.
Which is another point that, yes, 2 minutes. Yeah, in fact, 1.5, because I have to give you 30 seconds to close. Urgent things are such as, for example, there is a COVID outbreak, and you need to go to Parliament to enact something so that you can arrest this. That's an emergency. There is, a stock market crash. Suddenly, over the night, the stock market is crashed. Cayman is saying, what are we going to do? We're a financial services center. What are we going to do? That is an emergency. But the fact that you did a sloppy job, and now you want to come back and fix the sloppy job, and that's an emergency, no. But let me end on this. And yet again, they have not provided figures. We asked you earlier to say, what are the projections regarding the Caymanian statuses you'll be granting for the next 9 to 15 years? And how many people do you expect will be reduced, and so on and so forth? Like what will be the reduction in the number of expatriate population? They haven't given that, and they don't want to give it. And now they are doing this. They haven't grandfathered enough people. But at the end of the day, you have grandfathered too many people. You are trying to iron out the creases. You have not changed the fabric. The fabric remains dirty. Until you change the fabric, the heritage of Cayman is going to go down the drain. I'm sorry to say. But I'll pick you up with this issue next week again. I'll let you go now.
Definitely bring up some of the laws again and probably do a recap on Monday since they're going to Parliament on Wednesday. But yes, thank you so much for weighing in. Appreciate it.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye.
Yes, bye-bye. Yes, we're coming to an end of Sabrina Speaks here on this Friday as we head on into the weekend, and there's a lot to actually ponder and to think of. Marlon Stevens says, thank you, Sir Brian. Dean is saying the real question is, what is the reason for boom rushing this bill? Denver says that's why our government should be starting from ground up and wouldn't be sloppy creating laws. Feet on the ground, learning and listening to the people, they would be guided much better with implementing new laws. And before that, he says, yes, and that's a major problem we have. Every foreign national bringing brother, sister, cousins, mother, and father and grouping together, bringing their bad behavior and trying to change things here, not being thankful for the opportunity themselves and adopting to Cayman's way of life. Not saying forget about their religion, culture, and not celebrate their celebrations amongst themselves privately, not in our public. There we go. It has brought me to the end of today's episode of Sabrina Speaks, and I do not want to actually clip into any other scheduled program, but I got to remind you that at 10 o'clock tonight, remember Real Talk, Love and Lies, open relation on open season is the question. Open relationships or open season? Yes. So make sure you tune in for that conversation, and I will see you all on Monday. Please be safe. Love you lots. God bless. Take care.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, K-Man, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.